3 carriers. By March 7, 2026, as Operation Epic Fury entered its second week, the United States deployed something Iran has never faced. Not 1 carrier, not 2, 3, simultaneously. USS George H.W. Bush crossed the Atlantic. USS Abraham Lincoln held position near the Gulf of Oman as the primary strike platform. USS Gerald R. Ford maintained high tempo in the Red Sea. Together, they represent the largest concentration of American naval air power in one region since 2003. And the concentration is not defensive. It is surgical, relentless, and designed to eliminate Iran's ability to project force beyond its coastline. This is not a show of force. This is the application of force at a scale that collapses adversary decision-making. Each carrier operates with over 70 combat aircraft, F-35C stealth fighters, FA-18 Super Hornets, E-2D Hawkeyes, EA-18G Growlers for electronic warfare. Together, the 3 carrier air wings field over 200 combat aircraft, add over 15 Aegis destroyers and cruisers providing air defense and Tomahawk capability, and you have floating military infrastructure that can sustain operations indefinitely without resupply from shore bases vulnerable to missile strikes. Since February 28th, when Operation Epic Fury began with the assassination of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, U.S. and Israeli forces have struck over 3,000 targets inside Iran. Not 300, 3,000. The targeting has been methodical. Missile production facilities that U.S. intelligence dubbed Iran's missile Amazon warehouses, sprawling complexes where ballistic missiles were assembled, stored, and distributed to IRGC units across the country. Command bunkers deep beneath Tehran and other cities, hardened facilities designed to survive conventional strikes but vulnerable to bunker-penetrating munitions delivered by B-2 stealth bombers. Air defense systems, the S-300 batteries Iran purchased from Russia, and the domestically produced Bavar 373 systems, systematically degraded through a combination of electronic warfare, anti-radiation missiles, and direct strikes. And then there is the Navy. Iran's naval forces have been decimated. Over 30 warships sunk. Fast attack craft that Iran relied on for asymmetric warfare in the Strait of Hormuz, gone. Patrol boats, armed with anti-ship missiles, destroyed at dock or hunted in open water. The Iranian Navy's larger surface combatants, frigates, and corvettes eliminated in the opening days. What remains is scattered, hiding in ports or blending with civilian traffic. U.S. officials stated Iran's Navy has effectively evaporated. This is not hyperbole. Satellite imagery confirms the destruction. Ports that once housed dozens of military vessels now show burned-out hulks and empty berths. The ballistic missile threat has collapsed. Reports indicate Iran's ballistic missile launch capacity has been reduced by 93%. 93%. This is the strategic backbone of Iran's deterrence. The systems that were supposed to make any attack on Iran unthinkably costly. Mobile launchers tracked and destroyed. Production facilities bombed. Storage depots obliterated. The missile waves Iran launched in the first days of the war, the barrages that struck Tel Aviv and targeted U.S. bases across the region, have slowed to a trickle. Not because Iran has chosen restraint, because Iran is running out of missiles and the means to launch them. This is where the mathematics of attrition become decisive. Iran launched over 500 ballistic missiles in the first 9 days of the war. Those missiles came from stockpiles accumulated over years. Once expended, they cannot be rapidly replaced. Missile production requires precision manufacturing, specialized materials, and time. The facilities that produce those missiles are now craters. The engineers and technicians who operated those facilities are dead or scattered. Even if Iran had the political will to rebuild, the infrastructure no longer exists, and the triple carrier presence ensures it will not be rebuilt. Any attempt to reconstitute missile production will be detected and destroyed before it becomes operational. The Strait of Hormuz is the strategic choke point at the center of this war. 20% of global oil supply flows through that narrow passage. Iran attempted to close it in the opening days, declaring any Western-flagged vessel would be attacked. For a brief period, tanker traffic collapsed, but the arrival of the third carrier strike group changes the equation. The USS George H.W. Bush brings additional air cover for convoy operations. Destroyers equipped with advanced radar and anti-ship missile defense can escort tankers through the strait, and now there is a new capability entering the theater. Lockheed Martin's Sea Leech underwater drone system, designed specifically for mine detection and clearance in contested littoral environments. Sea Leech drones operate autonomously, mapping the seabed, identifying mines, and either marking them for disposal or neutralizing them directly. Iran has historically relied on naval mines as a primary tool for denying access to the Strait of Hormuz. Mines are cheap, difficult to detect, and psychologically effective because a single mine can sink a tanker worth hundreds of millions of dollars and kill dozens of crew. But Sea Leech systematically removes that threat. The drones work in swarms, covering large areas quickly, and they operate continuously without risking human divers. As these systems deploy over the coming days, the strait will reopen to commercial traffic. Oil prices, which spiked above $120 per barrel, will stabilize, and Iran's primary leverage over the global economy will evaporate along with its navy. The political dimension is fracturing. Iranian President Pezeshkian issued formal apologies to Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar for the missile and drone strikes that hit their territory in the opening days of the war. The apologies are framed as accidents, stray munitions, targeting errors. This is gaslighting at a state level. Iran launched those strikes deliberately, attempting to punish Gulf states for hosting U.S. bases and allowing coalition aircraft to operate from their airspace. But now that Iran's military position has collapsed, Tehran is trying to peel away regional support for the U.S. campaign. The apologies are not sincere. They are strategic repositioning, an attempt to convince Gulf states that continuing to support the U.S. war effort will bring more danger than benefit. It is not working. Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar all suffered casualties from Iranian strikes. Their ports and oil infrastructure were targeted. Their populations witnessed Iranian missiles in their cities. Apologies do not undo that, and the Gulf states can read the battlefield. Iran is losing badly. Aligning with a collapsing regime offers no benefit, so the apologies are accepted diplomatically but ignored operationally. U.S. aircraft continue flying from Qatar and UAE. Saudi Arabia continues coordinating airspace. The regional coalition Iran hoped to fracture is holding. Donald Trump has made the U.S. position explicit. No negotiations, no ceasefire, no off-ramps. The only acceptable outcome is unconditional surrender. Trump stated publicly that Iran must lay down arms, dismantle its nuclear program, and accept international inspections without limitation. Anything less will result in continued military operations until the Iranian government capitulates or collapses. This is not a negotiating position. This is an ultimatum, and the military campaign is designed to make that ultimatum the only rational choice Iran has left. Inside Iran, the regime is fracturing. The IRGC, Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, has issued threats against its own population. Reports from inside Iran describe checkpoints in major cities, IRGC units deployed not to fight external enemies, but to prevent internal uprising. The regime fears its own people more than American bombs, because the bombs will stop. But if the Iranian population rises in revolt, the regime has no answer. The IRGC cannot occupy every neighborhood, it cannot arrest millions, and it cannot sustain a two-front war against both the United States and its own citizens. This is the trap closing. Iran's military capacity is degraded beyond recovery in the short term. Its navy is gone, its missile stockpiles are depleted, its air defenses are shredded. The Strait of Hormuz, the primary leverage point Iran held over the global economy, is being systematically reopened by U.S. forces. Regional allies are not breaking from the coalition. And domestically, the regime is preparing for civil unrest rather than military victory. The question is no longer whether Iran can win this war. The question is whether the regime will choose total collapse or surrender before collapse becomes inevitable. The second phase of Operation Epic Fury is already underway. U.S. stealth aircraft and fourth-generation fighters, F-15s, F-16s, F-18s, operating from 3 carrier strike groups and regional bases, are methodically eliminating what remains of Iran's fast attack boats and dispersed air defense systems. The operational pace is relentless, sorties every hour, targets struck around the clock, and Iran has no effective counter. The war is not over, but the outcome is no longer in doubt. Iran will either accept unconditional surrender or it will experience total military and political collapse. Those are the only paths forward, and the triple carrier presence in the Gulf ensures that one of those outcomes will arrive soon. The clock is running, the strait is reopening, the regime is isolated, and the choice, such as it is, now belongs entirely to Tehran.